Right, hi everybody. I'm stood up at the minute, but I'm going to be sitting down shortly. I've been looking at this and I love it a bit more every time I look at it. Absolutely love it. And I've been giving a lot of thought to what I want to do to it. And I've played with zips and where I'm going to put them, etc. And I've decided that I'm going to cut that off there, put the zip there, and attach the next bit down here to the zip. So the first thing I want to do is work on this piece up here, because I obviously don't just want it to be blank. I don't want there to be nothing there. So below the zip, below here, I'm like 2 centimetres, which is just short of 1 inch. So I need to mark that line on the back, and I'll do it at 1 inch, okay, just to be on the safe side. So this is the back, and I want it 1 inch below that edge of that zip. So let me just so that's not 1 inch below, is it? So I need to move that up. I'm getting my straight line from the edge here. That's probably near enough. But no, I'll just move it up a little tiny bit more just to be on the safe side. I do a lot of things just to be on the safe side. Because all my markings now for what's going to happen on the other side of this piece are going to be on the back. So the first thing I want to do, I want to carry through to here some of these flowers, okay? But I want it more ordered now. So what I want to do is mark, if I get it back on a straight line, I want to mark from the top. Okay, now I want several lines because my intention is, I'll turn it back to the front, I want to do another thing of bullion knots on fabric. Okay, there's a thread there, I don't know where that's come from. So I want lines of bullion knots in here, possibly 3. Okay, 2, 3. I'm going to mark them first, where I'm going to put them. Right, a lot of bullion knots still to be stitched, so this class could go on forever. Be prepared. Right. Because how I'm going to get them in, I'll tell you about that in a sec. So if I say, put my first one here, which is 1 inch from that edge. So if I draw a line down there, because what's going to happen is, that is going to be a line that I'm going to cut to slip the bullion knots in, okay? So about 1/8 of an inch from there, where I'm going to cut, I'm going to put another line, a dashed line, okay, and that is going to be a line that I'm going to perforate neatly and straightly in a straight line to do running stitch to secure those bullion knots. Okay. So now, how much distance have I got here? Half. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So if I come again for my next line for my bullion knots, if I mark these first, say 1.5 inches from there, so another straight line there, and then 1/8 of an inch away again, a dashed line for my stitching holes. I'll tell you what, I should have been an architect. That's not right, is it? What am I doing? again, another dashed line. Okay, and again 1.5 inches from there, do another line for the bullion knots. This is a lot of bullion knots, I tell you. But are we in any hurry? Is anybody out there in a hurry for me to finish this? Because I would like to make it the best I can. And then another 1/8 of an inch for my dashed line, for my stitch line. I don't think. Got a bit of shadowing going on here, that's stopping me getting this in the right place. Right, and again, another dashed line. Okay. And then over here, I just need a straight line over here, so 1/2 inch in, just to mark a straight line, because I'll tell you now what I'm going to do. I can sit down now. Right. I'm just going to, sorry, excuse me, I'm just moving the viewer so I can see it properly. So this, I'm going to cut to slip in the bullion knots, okay, and there I'm going to stitch, okay. Now in here, in straight lines, that's why that line's there, I'm going to do more of this floral thing to keep continuity. Okay, so what I will do is I will draw these in all these spaces, okay, not in a straight line, just organically, so that this space is filled, and they won't necessarily all be the same size. Okay, and probably do some like half ones coming in off the edge, like that. And a little bit there, and a little bit there, and this will all have to be pricked before I do the bullion knots and before I stick them in. Okay, so you've seen me do the bullion knots. I'm going to do them exactly the same way as I did them last time, and then when I come to put them in, I'll do that on camera. So basically that's it. I need to draw them in here, over here. So if I put rows over here, rows, roses, and those ones will come all the way up to here probably. Let me think about that though. Yeah, no, they will. They'll come all the way up to here. And in fact I didn't need that line, because I'll do this whole thing with roses, so ignore that line. So going forward, the first thing I'm going to do is do all this marking on here for the flowers, prick all them from the back, then I'm going to stitch my bullion knots. So my bullion knots need to be, this is a centimetre ruler unfortunately, I need 3 strips that are 26 centimetres, which is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10.25 inches. Okay, but I can do them 10 because I don't have to cut right top. In fact, I won't be cutting right to the bottom. So what I'll do, and I won't be cutting right at the top actually. In fact, have a look at the back there. Right, I don't need, I can see through here, you might not be able to see, but I can see through here where my bullion knots start at on the other side. So if I do a line across there, that'll be the line that denotes my first cut, that line. And then at the bottom, I'll do it shorter than to the very bottom. So let's measure it again. So if I do it a centimetre shorter at the bottom, so it's 25, no it's not, it's 24 now. So knock a centimetre off is 23 centimetres. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a tiny bit inches. So I need 3 of those with bullion knots. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to cut that off, apply the zip to the bit I cut off at the bottom, and do some work on this bit when I cut it off, and that'll be the extension of what's going on there. Okay, so obviously I'm making this video in stages. I'll come back when I've done that, and when I've done one strip of bullion knots, because I don't need to do all 3 to show you how I'm going to put them in here, and meanwhile you could be getting on with yours, couldn't you? Okay. Okay, so far I made the first part of this video earlier in the week, and then I was working on these. So I've done 2 of the bullion edges. There's still 1 to do. I'm sure you know how time consuming they are to do. No problem, don't matter to me in terms of time. I love to do it. Tedious, I just absorb and embrace the tedious. And I've partially pinpricked. Now the thing that takes the time with this, believe it or not, is the drawing on the back. That takes the longest time. So my original plan was to do this whole sheet with pinpricks, get the 3 stitched bits of bullion knots finished, and then move it on. But I'm going to show you now how to put this in here. Then you can be getting on with that while I finish my other bullion knots, finish this bit before I come back to finish the bottom. Okay, so the first thing I want to do today is cut this bottom piece off, because it's making it harder. It's making it harder to handle, and I'm concerned, I don't want to spoil this in any way. So if I cut this bit off first, if that's the first thing I do, get my Stanley knife. It's just easier to handle and to work with. But obviously I'm going to hang on to this, to the bottom. Just put that over there. Right, so that's that. So now if I turn around, I'm going to insert the bullion piece in here. Okay, which I've marked on the back if you remember. But the first thing I'm going to do before I do that, remember I put a dashed line for stitching. I'm going to get my needle, and I'm going to actually have to decide exactly where I'm going to place this before I do this next bit. So if I'm doing it from there, from where I drew the line, do you remember? So if I do it from there to almost at the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make holes from the back that are stitch holes on the dashed line. Okay, the solid line is my cutting line. I'm doing it on the dashed line. So, and I'm going to say out loud up down, so that I know I've got the exact number of holes that I need to do a running stitch down here. So up, down, 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 up, down. Now some of you will know this from other classes, but there are newbies in this class. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I went a bit wonky there. Down, up, 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 down. Okay, so that'll be okay now, and that's how they look from the front. And I'll do my running stitch in those holes when I attach this piece of cloth. I'm just gonna get some epoxy threads because I finished my last skein last night. Right, so now I need to cut to this line where the fabric's going to go. So very carefully on the solid line, obviously not right to the bottom, sorry, from there. About a quarter of an inch away from the bottom so that it'll fit in there, and then trim down. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to sit down, get my chair and sit down and just gauge how much of this I need to trim, because I don't want it to be too short but I don't want it to be too long either. Literally got to trim right next to these bullion knots without obviously cutting through them. Right, and then turn it over and just feed it through here carefully, because there's not a lot of room at the bottom here for error. Now obviously when I come to attach the zip at the bottom, right, so, and then push it in from the front, I'll just pull it from the back. Get it in the right place. Make sure my loops are all out from under there. I can't see my up-down lines. Oh, because I've done them the other way. Should have gone in that way, sorry. That's why. No, what have I done? I've done my up-down lines in the wrong place, I think. Have I? Well, never matter anyway, because... But I can't see them. How have I done that? Oh well. They'll have to come in this way. So the bullions are lying on the rose pattern. That's a basic error. It doesn't matter in the overall scheme of things for the finished piece, it makes no difference at all. I mean, the basic error was me putting this in the wrong way. So I'll do it again. Push them in. And make sure my loops are all proud of that cut, and then they'll stick up. And already, just by doing this, I'm telling you now, I can't tell you. Can you imagine how it feels to have that there? I'll pull in a little bit. Can never find this bleeding camera there. Okay, so that's that like that. So what I need to do now, and this is a temporary measure, turn it to the back, masking tape, just to hold it in place while I stitch it, away from the area where I'm going to stitch, because I do not want my needle and thread going through masking tape. And then just re-pull again. I actually might need to loosen that a bit. I mean, this is normal. The fiddle is perfectly normal for positioning. I'm going to have to take it out and do it again. Now because, just a tip for you, because I was unsure, I obviously didn't know which way my up-downs were. Let me just get this sorted out. I didn't pay attention enough to where my up-downs were. Hey, honestly. Right, so it needs pulled more. That bit's okay, so I can press the masking tape there to try and stop it moving when I do this bit. I don't think I've ever, number of times I've done this, I don't think I've ever struggled like this to get it in position properly. So be careful when you're turning it over to put the masking tape in, that it doesn't slip like mine did. That's it, I think. Just a little bit more there. There. That's it. Okay, so that's it now. Now what I was going to say was, because my up downs are going to be here, and I haven't pinpricked this yet, when I've stitched this in here, it might not be difficult because I'm going to trim the fabric at the back. But what I'm thinking is, do you know what I've done? I'll tell you what I've done. It's because I've cut the wrong bit. I should have done it over here. That's what I've done wrong. I've cut the wrong section. I should have cut that section. But what I'll do is, I'll do that one as well at the same time, because that's pricked on both sides, that one. Whereas this one is only pricked on one side. So when I've done this one, I'll come back and do that one. Okay, that's what I did wrong. Because if you can see, there's a space between those two bits of patterning. And that is for the line, for the bullion knots. Okay, so that's that. I've sorted that out now. I've realised what's happened there. So let me get a needle for stitching, and I'm going to use my cotton broader. Open a new skein, because like I say, I finished a new skein last night. But hopefully by the time I've trimmed this, I'll still be able to see where to put my pin pricks from the back. Get a long piece of thread. It doesn't really matter if you have to change your thread in the middle of this, because it's obviously on the back, it's going to be knotted. Now another thing with this is, I'll just thread my needle. Obviously your down holes are no problem, you see them from the top and you just go down through them. Sometimes the up holes, you can't see them from the back because they've got fabric on them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just turn over and have a look at this. I just want to push that down a bit there, because with my needle, because the little mark that I made with tailor's chalk's visible there, and I don't want that to be visible. So just push it in a little bit like that. So that's my first one. So what I'm going to do is go through from the front with my needle and do that a couple of times, and hopefully that's visible on the back, and it is, it's there. So I've come up. Oh no, it's not. That's not it. Let me see, there. Right, so the first one, and then obviously go down there, and then when I come to do my next one, again, go through from the back front a few times and do that, and it's hopefully going to leave a mark in your fabric, which it has. You probably can't see it, but you can tell from how easy that went in. There was a tiniest little pinprick there that I was able to follow with my needle. So again, from the front again, like that, and again there's a tiniest little pinprick. Silk is actually the best for this. It leaves a wonderful mark on silk, so you can see there again. So, and then again from the front, because I honestly don't advocate just taking a chance and fiddling from the back and trying to find your hole from the back, because you could cause so much damage to the front of this by doing that. So always, I mean, it might take longer, but in terms of precision and neatness, it's very, very much worth it. Okay, and then go down again. And again from the front. So I'm going to do this all the way down here. It's caught on something. and my mark is still visible there. You can tell it's visible because of how easily I'm managing to get that needle in. So I'm going to do this other one here. Well, I'm not going to actually stitch it on camera, but I'll put it in on camera so that you can see what I'm talking about in terms of pin pricking over here. And I'm going to trim the back of the one I'm working on now, and then I'm going to go away and finish this top section and come back with a final video on putting the zip on the bottom and about adding something to the other end of the zip on the bottom as the lower piece. Now, I know I kept that bit of paper, but part of me was wondering last night about a fabric layer at the bottom, some kind of fabric cascading out of there. But having said that, I don't particularly want to do that with this because I think it might interrupt the balance of this piece. So what I will do, just really so you know, think about that is what I'm saying. Think about how fabric could affect it if you had a fabric at the bottom. If you're copying me like this, obviously that's fine. But also consider, or for another sheet, how this lower piece that's going to be zipped on could be cloth that's falling off here, even though I'm not going to do that. But what I think I am going to do is just continue with this bullion and rose prick theme, just for consistency throughout the whole piece. Okay, but don't forget, you can do another one of these when we're finished, and you can do anything you want with it, and it won't look anything like this one. So, you know, remember that. We've all got our own preferences for patterning and colours and stuff. And I've just been looking in the Flickr group this morning, and it's not that a picture's a favourite of mine, but it's something somebody might do with a picture that makes me a light bulb go on in my head. And one of the pictures made me think, I think it was Jane from Australia, she'd cropped it and just highlighted a very small area of a design sheet. And I put a comment that she could do that all over the whole piece and have a lot of individual finished pieces of artwork. And that's applicable to all of you. When you think about all the amazing design sheets that have been put on there, even me with this, why don't you try cropping them and printing them off? Like, I could crop that area and that'd be a design on its own. I could crop this area, it'd be a design on its own. Your sheets that are 3 layered, the one we did first, try cropping them, you know, play with things like that. And even if you don't make them, if you print them out and keep them somewhere safe, they're a record of ideas for the future. If you ever get to a day where you think, oh, what am I going to do today? I want to play with some paper, but I don't know what to do. That is the perfect thing to go and look through to get yourself ideas, even if you don't want to print them out and keep them somewhere. No, I can't really see the one for here, is that it? No, I can't see that one, I'm going to have to do that again. Even if you don't want to print them, put them on your Flickr photo stream, or just keep them in My Pictures on your computer, in your pictures, in a file name, possible design ideas for the future. You know, something like that. It is taking quite some time, isn't it, to get down here. Now don't worry, I know that this is flapping about. I know that that side isn't stable, but I'm going to sort that out as well when we've done this. I can eminently see these marks on the other side. It really is. Says she. And she can't get her needle in, and now that one's moved, so I'll have to do it again. But it really is worth taking the time to do this. Oops. Am I halfway yet? I think I'm over halfway. So yeah, so look at it all, and look at each piece, not as a finished piece, but as a library of ideas, something that might come in the future. Oh, I think that one's gone as well. Why can't I find that one? This one's being very naughty. I don't know why this one would be so much more difficult than all the others. It's there, I can see it there. That's it. That's quite a... I went over 2 holes there. I thought that's a big stitch. It's because I went over 2. That's it. That's normal now. So the weekend sometime I'll be back with the final video. So this 2-week class became a 3-week class. I do apologise about that. I underestimated, well, or I overestimated how quickly I could work. That one doesn't want to go in either. Well, I'm glad the beginning of this process was a lot simpler than some of them have turned out to be, because otherwise you would have been doubting that I knew what I was talking about. I also think it might have something to do with the paper moving when I'm doing it. Because the hole's there, I can see it. That's it. So patience is a virtue. That's what my great grandma used to tell me. Karen Burns, because that was my name. Patience is a virtue, young lady. Learn some. No. What is going on? I mean, the fabric hole's there, it should meet with the paper. I mean, if I'm struggling with the down ones like I did then, goodness knows, that's a bit of a mess, that one, for some reason. But it's nothing a man on a flying horse would notice, on a galloping horse would notice. Why? Right, it's there. I can see it. Okay. The mysteries of life. How long have I been rabbiting on for? Because I've got to add this to another video. 22 minutes. Right, what I might do is turn off and finish this. Make that. Otherwise, we're going to have a massive file. When I get to, no, I'm just going to keep going. If we've got a massive file, we've got a massive file. Nobody will die. At least I hope nobody will die. Because I'm almost there. Because I want to show you how I'm going to finish off. No. They're being very naughty, these ones, as we progress. For no apparent reason. It's got something to do with the cloth moving. If I hold it up like that into the light, I can see with the light. And it's very flexible, this acrylic paper. You'll notice now that I'm bending it over. But it is very flexible. It doesn't crease easily, so it's not going to damage. So I'm just going to hold it up to the light for these ones, because otherwise I can see my hole if I hold it up to the light. Well, I said I could see my hole, but maybe I can't. Not the right one anyway. Right, so that's it. I know people who would say to me, what is the point that's so much hassle, what is the point? Well, I think if anyone needs to ask that question, they wouldn't understand, even if you tried to explain, would they? Now, if I was finishing this, at this, I wasn't going to add anything at the bottom, I would be concerned about the knot coming out at the end. But we all know about concealing knots, don't we? I'm assuming that everybody in this class is a stitcher. So we all know about making sure our knots aren't visible. And about the hexagons, I'm not going to use the hexagons now, but if I was to use them, I would tack the hexagons in exactly the same way as I did the tacking here, with my pre-marked random holes, and then tack with the tacking stitches to add them, okay, from the back. That's what I would do. I'm nearly at the bottom. I could actually split this video in two anyway, if it gets to be too long. Join it to my little one that I've already made, and then split it in two. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, see now, that nearly got sucked in underneath. Be very careful of that, don't want that to happen. And I hope you've enjoyed this class. I mean, I love doing this kind of work. It's not like work, you know. How can this be work? Just going to check that they're not. And then when I'm getting down here, I need to push that one in a bit more, because that mark in there on that end, I've also got there, where's my little scissors, a little bit of a fibre, and I'm not going to pull it because I don't want to pull the whole thing out. So cut that off, that should be okay. So I'm almost at the bottom here. Push that in like I said. Right, so I need to come up from the back. I mean, it's all gone relatively swimmingly. I would hate for there to be a catastrophe right at the end. Down again. I've got 2 more stitches to do. Got a bit tangled up there. Right, my final up one. And again, just pushing that edge in, just because this is the final up one, just to catch that, but that's probably hidden, the mark I've just made, so I'll do it again. Oh, come on, that's it. And then my final down one, there, okay. So that's it from the front. So if I turn to the back now, knot it, and obviously I'd probably do this anyway if I was finishing here or adding more on the bottom anyway. Just take it through a couple of the stitches at the back just to get the tail away from the front, which is easier said than done, but there, okay. And then just pull it up there and cut it off without a tail, and then you've not got any chance of that tail hanging below the bottom. Now take this tape off, okay, discard that tape, but now we're going to put a bit of tape on here, and I haven't got my paper scissors. I'll go and get them, I won't be a second. I thought it was too good to be true. Won't be a second. Now, for those of you who don't know, these might look like fabric scissors, but what they are is an old pair of fabric scissors that somebody used for something they shouldn't. Not mentioning any names, but I can't say whether it was my husband or my son, so I don't want to blame anybody. So they're useless as fabric scissors, but they're brilliant as paper scissors. So, and I'm going to trim this. There, like that. So now, see what I should do now is put masking tape down there so that it's not like that. But I'm not going to do that, so I don't need them, because I'm not going to do it, and I'll tell you for why. Because I need to be able to move that to do my pricking. But then I suppose I could put it temporarily so it doesn't flap about when I'm working. I'll put a narrow strip on temporarily, and then that'll enable me to move this out of the way so I can do my pricking there. Okay, so I need to cut this lengthwise, which is never, actually I'll do it with my Stanley knife and my ruler. That's the best thing to do. Just temporarily on there, just to hold it together while I'm still working on it. Okay, but having said that, that could stay there, that's alright. But normally what I would have done was I'd have put it to here just for support. So I may well add more once I've done this bit of pin pricking on here and I've done my marking on the back. Okay, so that's it, how it looks from the front. And it's just wonderful, it's absolutely wonderful, I love it. So what I'll do now is I'll do my up down on the area I intended to do it in the first place, and I didn't. And on the broken line, up, no that's not right, where am I? Where am I? Here. Right. Up, down, 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 ow, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like doing your exercises. Up, down, 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 up, down. Okay, when I'm doing my pin pricking like this and this, I've got a thing for my finger to protect my finger. Right, so and now I have to cut this now, don't I? So again, very carefully, my margins at the bottom, maybe I shouldn't have cut that other bit off till I'd done this, because my margins at the bottom aren't very big. There. And then obviously trim this again, just check it. So from there to there. And just exactly the same as the last one. Fiddle, 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 fiddle. When Dolly Parton came to Glastonbury last year, and when I was there, she made a song up, because it was muddy because it had been raining, called Mud, 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 Mud. Right there, look at that. Maybe I should make a song up called Fiddle, Fiddle. Maybe I should get Paul Simon on it. There. So on that one will be worked in exactly the same way, and then there's going to be another one, and then all this is going to be roses. So can I pull in, is there any points? There. Wonderful. Absolutely, totally and completely in love with that. So I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, what I'm going to do is put a zip along here. When I put the zip along here, hopefully it'll stitch, well, it'll have to stitch below the bullions, okay? And then it'll be fastened, and the next bit will be attached to the zip. And the next bit is going to be a mirroring somehow of these and this, and I will share that with you, and I will demonstrate that to you, and I will demonstrate adding the zip as well. Okay. I don't think there's anything else. I'm trying to think. I don't think there is, but if you need anything or you think I've forgotten anything, then just email me. Okay.